Hey guys, my name is Bharat and I'm 26 years old. A lot of you know me from the moment when I moved to Germany in 2016 because I started my YouTube channel, which was called Bharat in Germany, which is still called Bharat in Germany. And many of you are actually joining us new, and many of you also don't know about my story. So I decided that maybe I can take out some time, tell you about my story, how I came from India and then establish everything in Germany. Then afterwards, I'm moving around in Europe. What has been the life story so far at the age of 26. I was born in 1995 and my father was working as a scientist at that time. But he also just didn't get there without any kind of struggles. For him, it was the entire journey to come from a small village where his own parents were illiterate, they couldn't read or write, and the only thing they knew was that if you want good opportunities in India, the only thing that you have to do is you have to educate yourself. You have to go ahead and you have to study. And my father was very good at that. Like, he had a few siblings, but he was the best one amongst them, and that's why he could get out to the city. He could do his bachelor's, and then afterwards he did his MTech from Kurukshetra University. And the funny thing is that now he is the professor in the same department where he was studying all of these things. So that was a nice kind of full circle for him. And my mother, she did her bachelor's and stuff, and then afterwards she was taking care of the house. She used to teach in a primary school for a while, but then afterwards it just didn't make sense to earn very less money for working a lot, and then it was okay, it does not really make sense. We don't need the money that much. So when I was born, my father was already making the plans to go to Germany and stuff for different kind of conferences. And I think in around 97 he got a place in University of Freiburg as a DART fellow for I think 3 years. And then he came to Germany. He was working as a guest scientist here too, and then afterwards the entire family moved to Germany in the city of Freiburg. Right before moving, I think in 97, my younger brother was born in June. So my younger brother and I with my mother were going alone on the flight to Germany, and my father was already there, and he was working and arranging everything for us. Went there, started my kindergarten, was in a German kindergarten for 2 years, and it was a very interesting time for me because I still have some kind of flashbacks from that time. Not enough that I can make up the entire days or a long script of a memory that okay, this and this is what happened, but always some kind of flashes and some kind of memories from those times, which I absolutely loved. I think that was something very interesting. My parents also recorded a lot of videos when we were in Freiburg about just going around and in the snow and stuff, because for us it was the first time snow. And how happy people get when they see snow for the first time, especially when they're coming from India, from places where it generally does not snow at all. So that was a very nice time for us. So I've always had nice memories of that time, and that is also one of the times which I can look back to and remember that okay, this was maybe the time when I really wanted to start coming back to Germany, because even though we moved to India afterwards, we moved to a city called Hisar in Haryana. My father was working as a scientist there again. But for me, it was still hey, I was comparing everything to Germany. Hey, things used to be like this in Germany. They are this way in India, and maybe I'm not 100% happy. So my entire childhood started with all of the comparisons. Hey, it was like this in Germany, like this in India. And I always wanted to figure out a way to move back. And this thing got even more apparent because when the schooling started, I directly went into the second grade in my primary school. And it just became more and more clear how much competition there is, that for every single seat you have to fight tooth and nail, because there's just so much population in India. Then afterwards you have these different kind of schools. In 6th grade I went to this school called Gita Niketan. It was in Kurukshetra. We also moved to Kurukshetra in my 5th grade. So we were only for 3 years in Hisar, then we moved to Kurukshetra. Went to the school called Gita Niketan, started in DAV, then to Gita Niketan in Man. I think that was the absolute nut job school that I found, because there were so much segregation of girls in different classes, guys in different classes. Girls have to wear this suit and all of this I don't know, what do you call it, suit, salwar, everything, all of that stuff. And guys are not supposed to be in the same place like the women and things like that. It was so nonsense, especially at the age of 6. I just could not understand it, because in Germany nobody cared at all. If you're a guy or if you're a girl, if you are having a good friendship together, it's fine. In India, in that school essentially, that was an absolute trauma, and that was an absolute no-go for people who were running that school. I still do not understand like how that school is still running and how like people still studied in that school. I think if it would be up to me, like I would just kind of tell everybody to not to go to these like religious schools. But the thing was, at that time, everybody in my father's like friend circle, they were like, yeah, Gita Niketan is such a nice school, blah blah. But it was absolutely nonsense. Like you had so much work that you had to do, and it was all of the redundant work. You have to like copy assignments, whatever is taught in the classes, you have to redo it as homework and things like that. And if you did not do it right, you would get like proper hits from like these steel scales, and it would go directly on your knuckles, and that was absolutely not nice. I think the first time I got slapped in a school in my time was in Gita Niketan, and I think like that was the time when I was like, okay, we are leaving the school. I think this is like absolutely not worth it. Then we moved. I started my studies in DAV public school. Again, many of you who are from DAV know that there are subjects like Dharam Shiksha and all of these things, a heavy focus on yoga. So that was like one of the better times. I think like DAV school where I studied, like it was still giving a lot of exposure. And then I could slowly start getting back inside in some kind of inter-school competitions, in debates, in some kind of speeches and so on, and hosting some kind of like, talent hunts and things like that. So I was still able to kind of be more open than coming from a more conservative school like Gita Niketan, which was just like very conservative, like Hindu school or something. And I was there just for 3 months. I think like in just 2 or 3 months, I was like, nope, this is really not the place for me, and I cannot like study here. Then like DAV was fine. Then afterwards, I went to the school called Agricent public school. It was also in Kurukshetra. From the 9th grade onwards, like I shifted around the schools a lot, because for me, if I do not see any kind of progress, or if I do not like the place where I am staying, I cannot stay in that place for very long. I need to make the move because I'm not happy with how things are right now. And I think this was a very important kind of drive that I always had, that if I'm not happy in the particular location I am in, I'm just going to move. And that kind of like stayed with me also throughout the time when I was thinking about moving to Germany in the end. So Agricent public school, found some nice friends there. So I think like that was one of the first times when I was like, okay, like meeting more people and kind of getting settled in the university and so on. And then turns out like you hit 9th grade, and as soon as you hit 9th grade, you get a nice circle of friends who everybody wants to prepare for IIT and like this AIEEE and everything. So the coaching started. And that was the craziest time. I think like from 9th grade till 12th grade, like going to so many different kind of coachings and like trying to cover up the syllabus. In 9th grade, you will try to cover up the syllabus of 10th grade, in 10th, 11th and so on, so that you have an edge over other people, so that when the competition exams come, you can perform better. Now, I do not like 100% believe that was the best approach, because I do not remember a lot of things from my time from 9th to 12th. I think the school time could have gone so much better and in so much different way, that you could have maybe like more memories of your childhood and more memories of your youth and stuff, but that didn't happen. So when 11th hit, like 11th and 12th are the last school years of your life essentially in India. 11th hit, I started taking these coaching classes from Vidya Mandir classes. It was in New Delhi. Like everybody was going for Fiji, Akash, somebody was going to Kota and things like that. And we were like, okay, like we're just going to try this. Vidya Mandir, like heard a lot of nice things. I got selected because they used to have an entrance examination. Fine. So in the starting, I was really pumped. Everybody was pumped that, hey, like, we are going to get into IITs. And there was so much hype about IITs that if you get into IITs, your life is first class. If you don't get into IITs, you're screwed. Like you have to kind of sell vegetables and you have to like run rickshaws and things like that, which was a scary thing at that time, because like as somebody who is like going through all of these struggles the first time, and your parents haven't gone through these kind of like situations themselves either, because all of the competition just got worse during our times. Nobody knew how to handle it well, because everybody just thought like whatever the other people are doing, that is the right way to do things. That really had a bad impact on my mental health, because then afterwards I started getting depressed when I started seeing that, okay, I'm not performing as well as my friends in the exams and things like that. And there used to be these 3-hour review tests. It's called 3HRT or something in the coaching classes. And like, nope, like I'm just like losing rank one test after the next. So that was not a nice time. I gained a lot of weight at that time, and like if you would see, the only happiness I would get at that time would be when I would eat more, when we would go out to some restaurant or something, we would eat some tasty stuff, and like then I would feel happy. But as soon as like you're back from the restaurant, like all of the taste and everything goes away, you quickly get back to the side again where you realize that, hey, like life does not make so much sense right now. Now again, I do not come from a background where my family has like insane amounts of money or something. I remember when we started living in Hisar, like we just had one scooter and like the entire family of 4 would go on that scooter. And I think this is also the story of so many other like Indian middle class people, that you just have to like kind of make these kind of compromises. Also, like I remember that there used to be these flyers in the newspapers that you would get, and the backside of those flyers would be just blank. So we would like kind of also gather that and like do some kind of like practice work for our math questions and things like that on that. So we used to save a lot of money because that was the only way it kind of made sense for us, that we can still save up money when we really need it for some kind of education afterwards, for example, for these coaching classes and so on. Now, looking at the entire coaching industry, I just find it absolutely mind-boggling what an industry got created just because of your dream, the hype of studying in a few particular colleges or institutions in India, and how many people actually get selected. Like there's just like 0.5 to 1% of the people who really get selected in the good universities. Everybody else has to make compromises, which is not really reasonable. Now, during that time, along with going to restaurants and stuff, what I also got into the habit of was playing games, like kind of like hiding from my parents and like spending time playing some computer games and stuff. And that is something that I essentially never really told. So I think like in this video, they'll be like knowing that for the first time too, because I just did not have any motivation, any desire or anything like that to go ahead and like kind of prepare or like study the same subjects, which I was not really like enjoying at all. Like I was not performing well in them. Somehow that felt like the only way. If you're not performing well in these exams, you're done. And I was like, if I'm done anyways, like how does it make sense to like study further? But still, like whatever I could like practice and stuff, it stuck to the brain, and I was able to write my AIEEE exam. I think at that time I got the rank. It was such an interesting rank. It was 43434, so 43,434, and that was this AIEEE exam in 2012. 2012, I started my university, and after going to so many different kind of universities and colleges for counseling, so I started with GJU Hisar. That was the first university I went to. Then afterwards we went to UIT and Kurukshetra, like also like enrolled myself there. Then I enrolled myself in YMCA Faridabad, then in this IT program or something. And because everybody was like, coming up with some kind of compromises, they were like, okay, like this seat is open and this seat is good enough, you can enroll here. So I went from mechanical engineering in JJU Hisar to computer science in this UIT Kurukshetra, to IT in YMCA Faridabad, to chemical engineering in DKRS Murthal, where I like essentially ended up getting my degree. And from chemical engineering, I ended up in civil engineering. Like, can you believe this? Like, I could have been any of those people. I could have been a Bharat with a BTech in computer science, Bharat with BTech in mechanical engineering, Bharat with BTech in all sorts of stuff. Chemical engineering, I mean, crazy stuff. But now, in the end, it turned out to be I became the Bharat with BTech in civil engineering. That was something very interesting to me, that like how fluid all of these things are, and how much like nobody essentially cares like what kind of interests you have. Like you just see what kind of best place you can get from the reviews of other people. Even though like the job opportunities after getting BTech in civil engineering was just 12,000 Indian rupees or something, and maybe if I did my computer science or something, or like I would have done something in IT, I would have still gotten better jobs than what I was getting in civil engineering. But again, this is what happens when you listen to other people. And unfortunately, the problem in the Indian society is we just listen to so many people that we just completely forget what we should be doing in the end. So in the university time, the first year was again very horrible. I was still kind of getting over the time that I know that all of my friends are studying in these IITs and NITs, and I couldn't get there, and I just felt like an absolute loser, and that was just a bad feeling. And during these times, like in the starting already, I was like, okay, like how does it make sense at all? I will really try to make the move to Germany someday. That was like the light in the end of the tunnel. And I used to cherish my memories for Germany so much. I also used to have a flag of Germany in my hostel room. So when my friends would come over and stuff, like of course like some of them would make fun, but like most of the times it would be just like light-hearted fun and stuff. And fortunately, like I got some pretty decent friends in the university. First year was still bad. Second year, like kind of I found this nice friend circle. and with similar interests and stuff, we could talk about a lot of things. And when we would have like our bad times and stuff, like we could also like discuss with them, because I think in university that is the most important thing, that if you are not finding a friend with whom you can talk about your bad times, then that is really not friendship at all. Like that's just acquaintance. If you just are like kind of, you know, together in the happy times, but in the times when you want to talk to somebody, they're just not there. In that part, I got lucky. In third year, essentially, I found a conference in Friedrichshafen. The conference was called International Association for the Advancement of Space Safety. Now, again, coming from civil engineering, there was not so much sense of like going there. But I was like, okay, this is in Germany. I convinced my father that, hey, I really want to go to this conference because I will get this exposure and all of this stuff. Convince them, and my father is generally like very like easygoing, and he's like, okay, if you feel like it is going to help, then you can go there. And like he put the money aside. I went to Germany, stayed in some youth hostels and stuff, and that was also the time when I met Alina on a train station, because I could not understand German at that time. So of course I tell you to like learn German, but sometimes not knowing German can also be beneficial, because you can strike up some kind of conversations with other people. So we exchanged our emails and stuff. Then afterwards, I went back to India, started my studies, and like as soon as I landed on the airport, like that was the first time I dropped her an email right away. And I was like, okay, like, you know, let's continue this. Then slowly after a month, she gave me her phone number. Then we started talking like that. And we stayed in this like kind of long distance relationship, because I was like, Alina, no, it was not even a relationship at that time. I was like, Alina, look, I want to come to Germany. Like I will come to Germany, and like, you know, let's see like how things work. And Elena was like, yes, only then it would make sense, because otherwise like it is no sense to like call it a relationship or something. And of course, like that's understandable. So I found an internship at Schleichberger Partner at that time in 2015. And I came to Germany and did my internship in Berlin in 2015. And every single weekend I would go and visit Alina and her family. So that used to be something that I would always look forward to in the end. And Monday morning, like I would take the bus at 4, Alina would drop me there, and then we would start our work weeks. And then finally, after going on dates for almost 3 months, we were finally boyfriend and girlfriend. And then like Alina came to India. I also showed her a lot of places. We went to Agra for the first time, to Rajasthan, and we also, I think, went to Solan. I do not really remember. I think we went to Solan too, yes. So like we did all of these things and like made a lot of memories there. And then afterwards I visited her again, and like this is how like things kept on going. And then afterwards I finally understood like how do you start the entire process of doing your masters in Germany, after doing a lot of like online research, talking to a lot of professors, writing to them. And I still made a lot of mistakes in the entire process, because it was just not clear to me. I also did not know how transcripts looked like. There were some Google images or something that were showing up, and only because of them I understood, okay, like this is how a transcript looks like, and this is something I can ask from my university, because my university was a small state government university. They do not handle with people who want to go abroad or something. That was a completely foreign idea to them. If you want to do something in GATE or IES, UPSC and so on, they understand it. You want to go abroad, they absolutely don't understand it. Got a format from them, and like, you know, things worked out, got a transcript and everything, learned German, tried to write for TESTA for the first time. I failed. Then afterwards I wrote my B2 exam at Goethe Institute, and like I kind of cleared that. With B2 exam I was able to apply to TUHH, and then afterwards I wrote my final TESTA exam later, and with that I was like eligible to enroll in TUHH. So I was like already feeling happy that hey, I can now enroll in the university. But then the main news hit, which was me getting rejected from TUHH. That was the only university I applied to, because Alina was living in Hamburg, and I was like, okay, if we have to like kind of get this forward, we have to figure out a way to like, you know, live nearby or like start living together or something. I got the rejection. Alina read this entire like, you know, rejection letter and stuff. In the end it was written like you can write a Widerspruch, and then we came to the idea, okay, like it makes sense to write a reconsideration letter. Now, like, you know, every university has some kind of drama. They will start charging you more money for writing reconsideration letters and things like that. At that time it was very, very simple, and we still like managed to make a document which was 120 pages big, and got a lot of help from my previous company, from the company where I would have started doing my part-time job and so on, and it essentially worked out. Came to Germany, started my studies, and then I also got my first part-time job at WTM Engineers in Hamburg, and I've worked there for almost 18 months. Was still a very nice time because that company still provided me employment at the time I needed it, because like, hey, what if like it would have been more difficult or something. So they were very positive, also because of the internship that I did previously. They were like, okay, like this is a company that we have worked with previously, we can understand that maybe you're also good, so we can take you in. Of course, during this time we also moved in together, so it was like a lot of financial struggle because Alina was also doing her vocational training at that time, and she was working as a hotel specialist, and she was also like, you know, working and then studying, and the salary was not so much. It was like, I think 500 euros, 600 euros, something like that. And she used to get some Kindergeld on top, so that would also like kind of save up for the groceries and things like that. That's how we used to pay it. And I was not making any money in the starting because my job only started in November, and I only got my first paycheck, I think December end or even January, because like they gave me for 2 months directly, like together, something like that. So that was like very difficult time for us because we did not have enough money. We did not want to take the money from our parents and stuff. And you can just imagine how it is to like survive with 2 people just with like, you know, 750 euros or something like that. It's just very less money. And from that, like 500 euros would be the apartment. So you can imagine like what is left. My part-time job started and in November 2016, and in January 2017 I decided to start my YouTube channel, and that was after I saw one of the people in the consulate. So Alina was working in the Indian consulate in Hamburg, and turns out the vice consul there, who was Ram Deswal, and he used to have his own like YouTube channel. He was teaching English to students, and I was like, this is interesting, like if he's teaching English to students, I can also like start teaching German or something. That was the first idea that came to my mind. But then I realized, hey, like teaching German, of course it takes a lot more time, even though like right now on YouTube you will find so many people whose pronunciations are bad, grammar is bad, but they still teach German. Like, I do not want to repeat the same kind of things. So it essentially became a channel where I started documenting all of my experiences of living in Germany, of studying in Germany, and just having this completely different life where most of the students would come for English taught programs, but I came for a German taught program, which came with its own set of challenges. For the first 2 months, 1 or 2 months, like when I was in the university, I was just questioning my decision. I was like, you know, this is not nice. I do not like this. I just wanted to give up. I was like, it does not really make so much sense. But like, of course, I talked to some of my good friends that I made at that time, like which were also like, you know, who grew up in Germany. And like with them, I could talk and understand, okay, like what kind of options I have available. So I decided that, okay, after my second semester, I'm going to shift to another field of studies. And that fit very nicely with my YouTube interest, because YouTube like does a lot of stuff with like, you know, business and marketing and things like that. Also during that time I got married to Alina, so we were kind of like also figuring out how it is to like live together like as a Indo-German, like, you know, husband wife, and it was like definitely very challenging in the starting. It got better with time, of course, because like we just come from so many different cultures, and you know how like generally you live in hostels and stuff, like you're a mess most of the times. You don't really care about so many things. And Alina comes from a completely different kind of background, so for her everything had to be in order. So like all of that happened. I started my course in international management engineering and started my business. So so anytime you're like charging people for anything in Germany, you have to register a business. I know a lot of people right now who do illegal stuff in Germany. Like they just ask me these kind of advices. Okay, I'm making money in Germany. Do I need to show to the German authorities or something? And I'm like, if you're making money from anything other than your salary or your job, you have to register a business, because otherwise it is illegal. You will get a lot of heavy fines for that. So I had to like register my business. I did that, took just like 5 minutes or something. And I think on 20th October 2017, I got my first ever client, who was Akhil Raj. I think I also made a video with him previously on this YouTube channel. He is doing his German taught program in TU Chemnitz. He's studying Maschinenbau or mechanical engineering. So like that was the first day where I was so happy. I remember Alina and I, we were like still at somebody's place, and there was some kind of function going on, and I was like, Alina, I cannot believe that somebody just paid me 30 euros for 1 hour of my time. And I was like, this is crazy. So I was very, very happy with that. And that's also one of the reasons why I've been also like in touch with Akhil for so long. He's a very nice person, has so many experiences that he has been making on his own. Also like had started his YouTube channel in the middle. And there's also another video which I recorded with him, which is going to come out soon. All of that happened in 2017. And then afterwards, things kept on growing. I kept on working on different kind of projects. and things like really skyrocketed in the time in 2019 when I was trying to do my master thesis, and my master thesis was essentially on like my own academy, so which was Big Academy. So like how these like courses work, how like these different kind of digital products work and things like that. And like I hired a business coach at that time. He helped me out with a lot of things, and things like really picked up from that time. In 2019, then we ended up buying a house in Denmark. We took over the house on 16th November. So Alina's birthday is on 15th November. 16th November, we took over the house. That was a pretty nice kind of like way to remember these things. And then essentially our chapter started for Denmark, because like we had to be there to set up the business, to set up the Airbnb and everything. And also my master's ended at that time. I think in October I submitted my master thesis, December I had my defense, and everything like worked out pretty nicely. So afterwards in Feb, we took a lot of stuff to Denmark. We set up the house. We wanted to prepare it for Airbnb. We were very scared at that time, because when COVID is coming, like how are you going to rent out the house? How are people going to come and you will get infected? All of these things. There was so much fear about COVID that it's like the worst disease than Ebola. Like you have like, I don't know how much fatality rate and things like that. Whereas now if you see like it's like less than 1% fatality rate on Ebola, you have like more than 50%, which is like, of course, crazy. And this was a very old house from 1795. Some parts were there in the house, and then some other parts were built later on. So we had to do crazy amounts of stuff inside the house. A lot of money got invested there, and I was not earning that well at that time again. And I remember like one event very vividly, where like one of our sewer pipes broke from the house, like one side of the toilet to the sewer main line. And our neighbors told us like, you know, it is going to get very expensive now. And I was really thinking at that time, okay, like, you know, this is the time when I go bankrupt, because I think this is going to cost, I don't know what kind of amount. But that did not end up happening. It was still like, you know, not so expensive. In total, we invested a lot of money inside the house. We are now successfully renting it out on Airbnb. We get a lot of bookings during the summers. And then Alina started her wedding planning business. And she is also getting a lot of clients. So all of that happened essentially in 2020, when things really started picking up. And then 2021, we decided, okay, like, you know, it's enough of Denmark, it's enough of Germany. I think now is the time to kind of like really explore things more. So I started my company in Romania. It's a marketing consulting company, and we manage the marketing campaigns of a lot of German businesses. But we do not like just limit ourselves to German businesses. It's just that right now we just have German businesses. So that started, and then afterwards we started moving around again. We went to Denmark, now we are in Norway, now we are going to go to Sweden afterwards, maybe Turkey. Like, you know, this is the time now we are trying to just move around, experience life a bit, because from the age of 21 to I think 25, it was just constant struggle for us. Like these 4 or 5 years, we were not really understanding where the next money is going to come from, how are we going to survive the next month and things like that. But now when things are fortunately stable, that we can like explore our youth a bit before like turning 30, and then all of a sudden realizing, hey, like what did we do in our youth at all? So this is essentially the story so far. Like there were so many details that I think I couldn't mention. I think the video will already be too long to kind of like watch till the end. But if you made it till the end, know that there are a lot more lessons that I learned, a lot more struggles that we went through. And there are also some of these lessons that I make videos about that I can teach you afterwards, so that you don't repeat the same mistakes that I did. I think the silver lining is that like moving to Germany was such a huge impact. It had such a huge impact in my life that I couldn't have had lived the same kind of life if I was still in India. And just this move from India to Germany like changed so many things. And this is the one thing that I'm like very grateful for, and that things worked out the way they did. So that is pretty much my story so far at the age of 26. Don't know how the next years are going to look like, but I'm really looking forward to them. The one thing that I know is every day we are working really hard to get to a better place, and I think everybody should be doing the same thing. If you want to improve your life, and if your parents are not billionaires and millionaires, and you have to like build things for yourself, you have to work hard. You have to decide to get out of your comfort zone and try new things, because the only alternative to that is just spiraling down your entire life and never achieving something big. That's pretty much it. That's my life story, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.